It's about 19 degrees outside. A beautiful area out in the desert. Ruger LC9 bucket nuster.
Look at that thing. What's this thing, like a claymore?
Don't you hate that chamber indicator? That
Jeez.
is so dumb.
You know,
God, I hate
couldn't they have put something a little more unobtrusive, like, I don't know, an orange cone or something up there? Jeez.
Bucket's never shot this gun. No preconceived notions at all.
Nope.
About 7 yards or so. Oh, you know what? You're not square to the plate. Come on over here, dude. This is square to the plate. Evil Roy, mini torso plate. Go whatever distance you want. Knowing how you shoot pistols, you ought to probably move up on it.
I know. I've been so bad lately.
This guy was just shanking it at 400 yards on this target. Where is it? With an M1 Garand.
Let's see what we got here.
All right. Move on up, dude. Oh, he's taking the gloves off. He's getting serious.
Man, I do not like double action only autos. I just don't, but it shoots good.
Once you peeled the glove off, you dialed it in, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's reliable. I will say that about the LC9. Very reliable.
Have you shot it much?
A fair amount at this point, yes. A lot. Here,
It's
do
very
another mag.
flat.
Huh?
It's very flat.
It is.
Oh.
Ruger LC9. It is May 2012. This is a Nutnfancy tabletop review. About a year after the gun's introduction, and yes, that was on purpose. I guess I've been in the gun business since the 1970s. And when I say in the gun business, I'm talking about studying and using and shooting all kinds of guns. All that experience is and always has been rolled into the tabletop reviews of all the guns. And you'll really see it when I talk about POUs. I've seen a lot of trends come and go in the gun industry. Most don't survive, and yet when they're introduced, they have a lot of hoopla, they got a lot of media coverage, people are falling all over themselves saying how awesome the gun is. Now don't get super excited, the LC9 has a lot going for it. This will be a mostly positive review. And I'm really not going to intro with LC9. I'm going to intro with a current trend going on right now, the Beretta Nano. There's a lot of sales going on in the concealed carry pistol market, and it's been that way for quite some time. I've helped that with my reviews over the last 4 years here in the Nutnfancy project. I hear a lot of talk about the Nano. You can't find it. Well, I handled it the other day, and I wasn't overly impressed with it. It felt kind of like a Glock 26. It was as thick as a Glock to me. Not quite as heavy, but the whole time I'm holding it, I'm like, this is kind of a Glock. Now, I haven't shot it yet, and my opinions may change on it if I did, or if I choose to shoot it and get one. But my point is this, is that I think what will happen with the Nano is that it'll come, it'll be accepted, and then it will stabilize probably to the point of the LC9. Don't get me wrong, the LC9 is still selling great, I think. It's a good seller for Ruger. But I'm generally a little bit reluctant to just jump on board with, I don't know, the groupthink of the day and say, yeah, this is the greatest pistol in the world. Loved it. And I have delayed this pistol review on purpose. I did a shoot-off with Ruger LC9 a year ago against this gun, which is going to be shown again throughout the review because it's a standard setter, and that's the Kel-Tec PF9. Well, there were some comments said in that video that kind of were shocking to me. Seriously. I'm not sure what people think they're going to get here in the Nutnfancy project, but if you're looking at for a carte blanche fanboy softball appraisal of a weapon, you're probably in the wrong place. And there's lots of places to go for that. And in fact, pretty much everywhere else. Especially in print media. I mean, they're buying advertising from these magazines. They're going to say very few negative things. There are a couple exceptions of reviews out there in magazines that are great. You'll see the same thing here on YouTube. Softball reviews. You know, it's all good. If there's any criticism, they're going to really ameliorate it so they don't offend anybody, so they get more views, so they get more thumbs up. I don't play that way. So when guys are saying, that's it, Nutnfancy, I can't believe you had anything negative to say about the LC9. I'm leaving. I was like, see ya. Sorry, that's just the way I do gun reviews. You know, do they think I'm in the pocket of Kel-Tec or any other manufacturer for that matter? To me, that's laughable. It's just ridiculous. I say negative things against all the manufacturers. I offend everybody equally here. I'm not anybody's hip pocket. I've said negative stuff about KT, about Smith & Wesson, about Ruger. But wait, there was a history on Ruger. I've sold them thousands upon thousands of guns with my reviews. How about the LCP, the LCR, the Mini 14, the Ruger 1022, the SR9? How many thousands were sold through my videos? Lots and lots. And so, yeah, I took offense when so-called guys in the Nutnfancy project, I don't think there were many, I think they're just flybys to the video, to be honest, said, yeah, man, that's it. I'm like, well, you might want to take the whole body of work into account when we're talking about Ruger and be real and don't be brand myopic. I thought that was a glaring example of brand myopia, that they couldn't stand to hear anything negative about their chosen pistol that they spent money on. Okay, so I was just like, okay, controversial. I'm not going to put this at the forefront. One, also, I was not super excited about the LC9 in shooting it several times. That has improved somewhat over the last year, and I have several hundred more rounds through the pistol. And you'll see me change on a couple things, and you'll see a lot of the same criticisms surface again on the LC9, and they're well-founded. They're not made up, they're not myopic, and there's no attempt to, I don't know, sell more PF9s or car PM9s or Kimber Solos or whatever the heck you want to say. I don't care. I'm just showing you honest data points, take it or leave it. On to philosophy of use. Home defense gun for the LC9. I would say probably not for me. Only because, well, there's two reasons. One, it lacks an accessory rail, so you can't light it up. And there's no way to attach a light on here. Well, Nutnfancy, you don't need a light for your home defense gun. Well, I like one. I've always said that. I think every gun should have an integrated light into it. Well, but you can have flashlight. Well, that's difficult to shoot that way, and you're probably not going to be able to do it when you're half asleep anyhow. Have a light on your gun. That's the first reason. Second reason is, and you guys may be using this for HD, and that's totally cool. I'm just throwing out some philosophy to you. Again, based on that experience I introed with. It's hard to shoot well. It's a small and lightweight pistol. Marksmanship fundamentals are critical. I think you'd be better served by something a little bit larger. Longer sight radius, easier to hit with. Granted, your distances in a home invasion would probably be within 7 yards. Look at the statistics. But what if? What if you have to make a shot across a room? But my wife, my girlfriend, it fits her hand really good. She loves it. I say rock on, and it can totally be put into that POU. But you might want to consider some other larger guns like the Walther PPQ in 9 or 40 that has a very adaptable grip and it has a light rail on it. So that's how I see home defense on excuse me, I say PF9, I'm talking the LC9. Its primary role, of course, is carry gun, and in that role, I think it rocks. It's slim, relatively speaking, and it's lightweight. We'll talk to that here in just a second. That's what guys and gals are buying and using this gun for. Maybe a vehicle gun too, and in that role, I still like to have a light on it, especially if I can blind the opponent and never have to make a shot. I really don't want to make a shot if I can. So if I can intimidate the bad guy, intruder, whoever it might be, then awesome. But as a vehicle gun, it's going to be compact, slim, stowing easily. And if for some reason your vehicle's broken into and you lose it, you're not going to, lose a $1,000 gun. Final POU I'll say is backpacking gun. Well, here comes first comparison against PF9. I think it could totally serve in that role. And as a backpacking gun, I'm not really thinking about bear or anything like that, but mostly about two-legged threats, humans. And I would still choose this over that because it's lighter. There's easily a 2-ounce difference between these two guns. Actually, more than that. This is a 13-ounce gun. This is a 17.4-ounce gun with a finger rest magazine on it. And actually, I think with a 10-round mag, it's a little bit heavier. This is actually 15.2. That's actually a 9-round, not 10-round magazine. So I guess we'll call it 2.5 ounces difference. In a backpacking philosophy of use, every ounce counts. So yeah, 9mm at the best caliber. Well, it's the best caliber I'm going to pack in 12 miles into the backcountry. How about you? If I got the llama on board, heck man, I'll bring a 357 10mm Glock. There you go. That's philosophies of use as I see it. The size and weight are excellent, even though there is a 2.5 ounce difference between the PF9. Let's look at some other competitive options while we're here and we're talking about it. I talked about the Beretta Nano. I think that's around 18 or 19 ounces, and it's only a 6+1. Kimber Solo. I don't know if I have a weight written down, but it's about the same. About 20 ounces or so. It's a 6+1. Very expensive, by the way.
Kimber Solo.
And then on the table, riding in a Galco Classic Light shoulder holster. I've been running actually inside the waistband, so this holster is actually kind of new. Here comes a Car PM9, and it's hot. I'm not going to save it for the review, and I'm not pulling the trigger for the review. And last time I checked, I know how to handle guns safely. That's a great gun. And they have the more affordable version, the CM series, whether you want a 9 or a 40. That one weighs 16 ounces, give or take just a little bit. That's 6+1 option though. And do I have another one? Well, how about this? The Glock 26, Glock 27. Now that's a thicker carry option, but guess what I've been running around lately in my carry? You guys know for years I've been carrying the PF9. I don't know if you know that I've been carrying the PM9 as well, but now I'm running a Glock 26. Also in a Galco Classic Light holster, and again I've been running mostly either in a waistband or even fanny pack carry, so I really love this carry method. Now it's thicker, but guys, when they start going to the 20-ounce category and they go with something like the Beretta Nano, I'm saying to myself, why not just upgrade to a Glock? Now I've got more firepower, I've got major caliber, and I have an ultra proven, reliable, and exceedingly accurate gun in the Glock 26 and 27. I mean, these things are standard setting. I'm not talking just at 7 yards, I'm talking at 15 and 25 yards. You can make a shot with a baby Glock. Okay, thicker, heavier, more firepower. The width on the LC9, getting back to the topic, is decent. Let's compare it against the PF9. About the same. How about the overall profiles between them? And I think it's a really interesting comparison between these two guns. I'm going to raise this up just a little bit because they're close, $100 apart actually, to pricing levels, where the other ones I just showed you are going to be, in some cases, much more expensive than either of these two handguns. The overall platform is about the same. That makes it very carryable and very comfortable. You got to make your carry comfortable if you're going to do it with high percentage. Reference my long time ago posted concealed carry protocol. That's what I said. I was like, why even get your concealed permit if you're going to leave it at home? Well, because I chose a steel frame 1911 and they rock. I can shoot so good with it. And I say, oh, wait, the 1911 you don't have on your person right now? That gun? Yeah. I'm like, okay. And I'm still amazed, here comes some more philosophy, about how many dudes and dudettes pack 380s. Go reference my video, another controversial philosophy video, breaking the pack. The 380 sucks. In it, I say it's expensive to shoot. It doesn't hit as hard as a 9mm. It's much more expensive to train with. And they're not that much smaller and lighter than these two guns right here. Why don't you just upgrade and get a 9? To me, the 9mm is the premier carry round. If you really want to hit harder, go with a 40. I love that round too. You're just going to lose a few rounds in the process. Can't really say too much about the weight. I am leaning again towards PF9 for weight issues. It's 2.5, maybe even more, depending on which magazine you're running, ounces lighter.
In the desert.
The feel on this sucker is decent. I guess I'm jumping ahead to ergonomics a little bit, but I'll just save it for that. Let's go into firepower. They're both identical with the stock magazines, and that's 7+1, and that beats a lot of those options I just covered, to include the car, which is basically a revolver +1, 6+1. I want more rounds, but it's a single stack Nutnfancy. Well, but what if I can, get away with carrying a 9-round magazine and then +1 in the chamber, just like this one is. Now both these guns are empty. Safety checked. That, to me, is interesting. That I have in the case of the LC9, I have a 17.5 ounce gun with 8 rounds in it. That's substantial for the weight. Reference my firepower versus mobility discussion. It plays here as well. This beats it in terms of firepower. That's a relatively new addition, by the way, to the PF9. The 9-round magazine. I find it to be 100% reliable and about just 100 rounds shot is all. So that's firepower. Decent for the size. Now we get on to accuracy. One of the criticisms I leveled in the shoot-off between these two guns was I was having a much harder time, and actually everybody else at the range that day, connecting with the LC9. And again, some guys were like, well, that's just because Chad from Keltec was there. No, it wasn't. Have you guys not watched my SHOT Show videos? How I will get in the face of the manufacturers and call them out on stuff right to their face. Okay? I'm criticized for it. They're like, dude, you can't do that. I mean, you can't call them out on that. I'm like, yeah, I can. Granted, maybe I should have done it a little bit more tactfully. But do you think I would hold back if this gun was malfunctioning? I would have laughed at Chad. I was like, dude, what's up? I'll get to the problems of the PF9. Hold tight. It's not a flawless record. Okay, so don't worry. I'm going to be objective. So getting back to the range session, when I'm shooting between the two guns, and for that matter, everybody else that day, and actually subsequently since, almost always they're preferring the PF9. That's a real, genuine data point. It's not skewed because, I don't know, for whatever reason. Well, it's because you're there, Nutnfancy. They don't give a crap what I think. All the guys that shoot with me. PFI dude, PFI dad, Derek from Impact Guns, they don't give a crap what I think. They're just going to say it. I mean, don't read into it. I still have a harder time shooting the LC9 accurately than the PF9. I have to get used to that trigger, and now I have to jump ahead to ergonomics before I show you the targets. The trigger on the LC9, again safety checked, is not awesome. To me, it's very indistinct. It's hard for me to know where the break point is. Oh wait, maybe it isn't. The break point is going to be all the way back here. Wait. Holy cow, all the way there? Now the PF9.
Nuts.
Safety checked once again.
Still nuts.
It's not that far aft, and just to me, my mileage, it's more predictable. You may vary. You may say, you know what, I love the LC9 trigger. All I can do is give you my data points, and actually the data points of about 5 other dudes that shot it. Okay, so that is the negative. The upside is as I got more experience with the trigger, and I would say probably after about 100 rounds, I got better with it.
You'd never know.
I adapted. I was like, okay, this is where this is at. I can get used to it. And the accuracy got better for me. In fact, as it stands now, if I take my time, I can shoot both the PF9 and the LC9 about the same. Here's the first target. This is the LC9. This is last month, actually. This is 7 yards. There's 115 grain NiClad. Taking my time. 1, 2, 3. Bad group. 1, 2, just 2 rounds. That was Remington, 115 grain plus P GHPs. There's a good group. Low left. And 2 rounds there. I think that's also plus Ps. About the same. The Kel-Tec PF9, for me, I can really smoke with it. I mean, when we're talking accuracy. Let's see, here's some other targets. Here's the LC9. This is October 2011. Remington, jacketed hollow points. And this is benched outside range. That's a really good group, actually. And that's 16 yards. Really good group. Out of a tiny little handgun. There's Blazer 115 aluminum. Another group. It didn't seem to like Blazer so much that round. Although I will say in practical shooting it did just fine with it. And it was 100% reliable with that Blazer, by the way. Another group here, and then it was off to target. Here's some more. These are probably Blazer shots as well. And this is what you can expect to get generally out of your LC9 with FMJ ammo. You're crazy, Nutnfancy. No, I'm not. I've seen some other people shoot at the range with LC9s, and it's a lot worse than this. 16 yards is not that close. This was rested, too. Overall, honestly, I'm not struck by the accuracy of the LC9 at all. I'm almost embarrassed to show you these next ones, but I'm going to show you anyhow. I did doubles, rapid doubles at 5 yards at an indoor range. This first up is a PF9 by way of reference, and it was last month. Lots of shots fired, and it's just bang, 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 you know, pretty much as fast as I could do on that day. All kill shots. I like it. You know, I'm picky. I want them all here, but definitely thoracic cavity, right? Here comes the LC9. Shot a little bit low for me. Again with the trigger. How it worked for me. And, you know, I'm an experienced shooter. I shoot all kinds of pistols all the time. Thousands and thousands of rounds at this point in TMP. That's what the gun did that day. Honestly, it's about the same. Here's another, as a PF9. There's another grouping. These are rapid fire doubles, 5 yards. Then I shot some 124 grain plus P Golden Sabers out of it from the bench, and that was just 7 yards. Printed it a little bit left for me. So accuracy on the LC9, you can make it happen, but ultimately I don't think it's a tack driver by any means. Nor is the PF9 or any of those other pistols, to be honest. I can, if I take my time, really take my time, probably get better groups with the PF9. There you go. Take it or leave it. On to ergonomics. Here comes some criticisms, and I think they're just real. One, I talked about the trigger and how I don't dig it so much. I'll just leave it at that. I think there's plenty of other guys that have shot it that would tell you the same thing. But Nutnfancy, it's a concealed carry gun. You don't need an awesome trigger. It's going to be contact distances. I got no argument with you on that, bro. Unless you do, what was that show called? The Untouchables, the 30-yard shot off the stairway. I always like my pistols to be able to do something like that. Not related to the movie, but to make an accurate shot. What if your wife's getting ready to die and you have to make a shot at 20 yards? I would not feel comfortable making it with an LC9, especially with the trigger. I'm actually just surprised by my personal inconsistency with the pistol. If I was really consistent with it, like in that shoot-off, and I was just printing, you would have seen my enthusiasm be a lot higher. And that's just that's just how we all are. If we shoot really good with a handgun, we're going to be more excited about it. Ergonomically speaking, though, I don't like this either. The sloping front trigger guard. I think I'm in the minority on that because I don't think most people hold a handgun the way I do. Up here. Well, that's crazy, Nutnfancy. Well, maybe. I shoot good that way. Have for years. Yeah, you can shoot that way if you want. PF9, by contrast, has that square trigger guard, and it has about the same amount of room in it. Maybe a little bit less on the bottom of the trigger, so you might rub on the bottom of the trigger guard. I think that would be a valid criticism against PF9, actually. Okay, so there you go. Ergonomically speaking, the grip is fine. It's basically an enlarged LCP. We saw that grip back in '08 in my LCP review. Here's your serial number. In case this one ever goes up for sale, you'll know it was used in the Nutnfancy review. Cool. I do like the grip better on the PF9. I like the looks better, and for me, it fits just a little bit better. What? I love that. I like the groove. I'm just saying. The magazine button on the PF9 is excellent. Just perfect, actually. I've never accidentally disconnected it. I think some guys have. I think I heard something that dropping magazines out of PF9. I just ain't never seen it in all the rounds I've shot. Not never. And the LC9 one is too. It's about right. Nutnfancy, I have a PF9 and that trigger slaps the crap out of me. I hate shooting it. Again, I haven't seen it. But I'm talking personally. There are other people who have shot the gun in the Nutnfancy project, and I heard them complain that the trigger was slapping them and they didn't like it. If I talk to the test firers like Chad at Kel-Tec, he shoots them all day long, I don't hear any complaints from on that as well. I don't know what would cause that. Is it the reset combined with recoil on the PF9? Probably. That's probably where the trigger snap is coming from. Remember, that's a 13-ounce 9mm. It's going to be snappy. And when we're talking about ergonomics, it's snappier than the LC9. I think in that regard, the LC9 is going to win. I think it's a little bit softer shooting platform. Safety. I think I said something about the safety back then, so how I hated it, and I think everybody else did too. But you can just ignore it. I know that, but I just don't like the protectionist features to include the loaded chamber indicator, which, by the way, does not block the sight. I don't like it. Do you? I just run it with it off. I just like simple, and I like this. No locks, no chamber indicators that I need. It's a big boy's gun. So there you go. Slope trigger guard, talked about that. Windage elevate or windage adjustable sight. Actually, that's what Rigger says. I mean, you could probably, well, maybe not. I was going to say drift that front side. I think I did look at that, and that's pinned. So it's there. Windage adjustable rear sight. I may have missed it. I loosened it up, and I actually tried to drift it. It did not work at all. Because you saw how I was kind of printing left with this gun. And even if it did, notice how the dovetail is exactly in line with the slide. So if I cheat left or cheat right for a shot correction, now I've got a slide that's protruding and a sharp edge on a concealed carry handgun. What up? I don't know. What about this gun? Oh yeah, that's adjustable. And you've got some slop in there. See, in the milled slide that you can actually go left and right. Okay, ergonomically, what else? How about the sights? Well, these are standard PF9 sights. I like them. And I actually like the sights on the LC9 as well. Just about the right amount of air. No issues on that. There you go. I'll leave it at that. Field strip and maintenance. They're about the same, actually. They both will require the removal, well, not of a takedown pin. The LC9, actually, you're going to have to safety check it, safe direction, and then you're going to pull it, and this takedown lever, you're going to push down, and make sure you pull that down all the way. Hear that snap? Then you have a dual-purpose tool. It's going to push out the takedown pin, and you can use it for the internal lock. And I might have to get some leverage off with this off camera. Hang on. There you go. It does take a little bit of doing. Maybe it's just because I suck. There's a takedown tool, and it's pushing out the takedown pin. And this seems like a really losable part to me because it's small. Might want to have an extra one on hand if you're an LC9 owner. PF9's got the takedown lever. You got to keep track of that. It just seems a little bit bigger. And then once you're to that stage, piece of cake, just slide off the frame. There's the inside of the LC9. I like the full-length rails on that sucker. That's nice. You can see the hammer in there. And that's about it. Putting it back together, and before you put it back together, you might want to put a drop of CLP, Slip 2000 Militech on here. And also, I keep the barrel hood just slightly lubed as well, under here. During the testing phase, I think I lubed it once. I took it down, cleaned it once, and as we'll talk about reliability, no jams whatsoever. There, I said it. Something positive about the LC9. Pins back in. Takedown lever put up. Check for function and pull the trigger. Nope. It's got a magazine disconnect in it. the LC9 does. That to me is another downside. Yep. On to accessories and versatility. It really helps if your handgun of choice is commercially successful, if you want to go out and buy a holster for it. And the LC9 is definitely that, and I have not seen a shortage of holsters made for the gun. Some of which are made for other guns of similar size and format, and the LC9 will fit them. And that's going to be your major accessory you want. I already showed you that Galco Classic Light. There is one that will fit the LC9, I believe. That's a great option. There's lots of inside the waistband holsters for it. How about sight options? I didn't really research it, and I don't know of any. There might be some made, and I'm talking, tritium sight varieties. You can get the Laser Max unit. In fact, Ruger markets that right out the gate. It's catalog number LC9-LM. It's got that Laser Max module on there. Upside and a downside to that. Downside is, in an engagement, you might be wasting time looking for that dot. The upside is it has some intimidation factor, getting back to that defensive philosophy of use where maybe we don't have to fire a shot. So I think it's be pretty good. If you're like me, weird like me, and you use that trigger guard to rest your finger, maybe not so awesome. You'll have to modify your grip. Other stuff you can look for, or maybe not, is a light. Once again, it lacks an accessory rail. PF9's got one, albeit it's tiny, and you're going to have a very tiny, light or laser aiming module if you're mounting it that way for the PF9. I'm not going to say it ain't. There is a lock included in the gun, and it works pretty good. It's actuated right there with that little key I showed you earlier. I'll leave it at that. Value, about $350. Look at all the oil I got on my reviewing cloth. Time to change. A little bit more, a little bit less. It comes with one magazine, I think. Look in the upper right, and that is a deal I'm going to work for you guys. Special here in the Nutnfancy project if you have not bought your LC9. It's the best I could find. And yes, it is a recommended concealed carry handgun with me.
Yeah, not impressed.
I've shown you some other options. The PF9 is still highly recommended. Right there. And this is a good time to start talking about durability and reliability.
Really?
That reminds me of that
The
little
PF9s have had quality control issues. I know that for a fact. Up and down, I wouldn't say anything major. And honestly, so has the LC9. I mean, the first LC9 I shot at Impact Guns, for instance, the floor plate kept falling off. It wasn't retaining. I've heard of light primer strikes in the LC9, brass shavings in the firing pin channel, all of which were fixed by Ruger, who have outstanding customer service. Same can be said for Kel-Tec. Okay, Kel-Tec's had some ups and downs on quality levels. They've shipped out soft extractors in the LC9. PF9 is what I should be saying. Some guys say, well, one guy told me, he's like, well, I was shooting the PF9 and the extractor fell off. Come to find out, when he field stripped it, he had taken the extractor spring out and actually undid the screw, which is, by the way, spec Loctited at the factory. And when that came to light, it's like, well, did you Loctite that extractor and really crank it on? He's like, no, I don't think so. Okay, and why are you blaming the gun? But these have had reliability issues too. I've seen a couple bobbles during break-in. Run about 100, 200 rounds through it. If it's still giving you problems, then you probably got a lemon. After I've been through probably around 50 rounds in every PF9 in the Nutnfancy project, it's been 100% with all the loads that I fired, which is usually 115 grain, jacket to hollow points up to 124 plus Ps. Both guns are excellent in the reliability and durability department as far as I've seen. I will give a slight edge to the LC9. Surprised? I will. In my testing, it didn't jam once, the LC9. So it will have a slight leg up on the PF9 in that department. As I see things right now, all that's subject to change, and recognize that there's lemons out there from both manufacturers. No one's exempt. Actually, no manufacturer is. I talk about that all the time. I want to wrap it up. Is it worth the money? Would you buy one Nutnfancy? Yeah, it is worth the money. I would probably still prefer the PF9 over it, having shot it. What about the other handguns, Nutnfancy? Well, I shot that Kimber Solo and I loved it. I thought it was great. It's very expensive, and to me it doesn't represent that good of a value. Obviously, I still love the PM CM series. They're still part of my personal arsenal. I love that gun. I'm losing a round and carrying it though. The trigger on this gun blows away both of these. The Kimber solo trigger blows away both the PF9 and the LC9. Now, if you go with that SIG, the new 1911 SIG 9mm, that will be huge. But again, it has all the 1911 ergonomics you have to be made aware of. Take some training. I would buy the LC9. It still has some significant downsides for me.
On your barrel.
I ain't going to lie about it. I ain't going to pretend they don't exist. And I'm not going to join groupthink and saying, you know, it's perfect. It ain't. Not for me. I don't like the slope trigger guard. I don't like the magazine safety. Now, there's probably a way to deactivate that. Look around the internet. I'm sure you'll find one. I recommend it. But if you have problems, you send it back into Ruger, they're going to either reject service or reinstall it for you. And all of these features, I realize, I'm talking magazine safety, this safety, and the loaded chamber indicator make the gun marketable in certain states. That's why they're there. They're trying to make money, and I don't fault them for that at all. I hate the trigger on the LC9. Still, I got to crank it all the way to the back. To me, it has a really indistinct break point. I much prefer the one on the PF9, on the CM9, on the, you know, whatever gun you want to choose. Loaded chamber indicator, talked about that. No accessory rail. It is heavier. Here's the upsides. As I see it on the Ruger LC9, it's very reliable with all the loads I fired, even heavy loads. If I really, really work at it, it has about the same accuracy. But I do have to really, really work at it. It's still pretty affordable at around $350. It's going to come in lower than a lot of options, maybe even that. For now, unobtainable Beretta Nano. That's the Nutnfancy review. See ya!